John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Minshew out of the gun. In motion right side is Michael Pittman Jr. Ball in the near hash. And Pittman is wide open on the near flat. He's at the 5, diving for the pylon on the far sideline. Give it to him. No signal yet. There it is. Touchdown. Back to throw is Carr. Last time, checks it down over the middle. Caught by Kamara. He's at the 10. He's at the 5. And he jumps his way closer to the goal line. In fact, he's in. He got that ball across the plane. Minshew goes out of the gun. Moss stays in as the back. They give it to Moss, trying to cram his way in the middle of that formation, trying to stretch the ball across the goal line. No signal yet. And they signal a touchdown for Zach Moss. And Taysom Hill's back in. They snap it directly to him. Runs it off tackle right side. He's at the 10, angling for the pylon, and he's in. Derek Carr goes out of the gun. 3 receivers left. He backs to throw. He plants. Looking, taking another shot downfield. It's got a man, and that's a catch. 10-5 touchdown. Offset eye. They give it to Kamara right up the gut. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he's in there. Touchdown. Alvin Kamara. It's Hill as the quarterback. Saunders is his fullback. Saunders blocking left. Hill going that way. Spinning across the goal line. Touchdown for the Saints. Minshew out of the gun. Ball in the far hash. Has it back to his left. That's Jonathan Taylor. Flushing out right side is Minshew. Minshew behind the line of scrimmage. Taking a shot for the end zone. Has a man. That's Andrew Ogletree. Did he make the catch? He did! He did! It covers 33 yards. Andrew Ogletree from Gardner Minshew. Yes, sir! Touchdown! Final score on the Ruoff Mortgage scoreboard. It's the Saints 38 and the Colts 27.
Matt Taylor right there, the call. And yesterday, another huge disappointment. 1 win in 9 games. You know, besides everything that has gone on, I think that's what stands out to me. Last year and now into this year, remember when you used to go to places, if you were a Colts fan within the AFC South, and it always felt like an easy mark? There was a point in time when that was prevalent. That was a prevalent thought. Or you look on the schedule and feel that that venue, regardless of this being a game on the road, is an easy mark. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly how people feel about Lucas Oil Stadium. And I will say this, and it was interesting. I was just telling Jake this. We did our pregame huddle show, not in Touchdown Town, but up in the press box, and we did it yesterday from the television auxiliary studio. So what happens is you can raise the windows on this. When you sit in the press box itself, you can't raise the windows. You don't really hear what's going on. So for the first time, and honestly, for the first time in covering a Colts game since the era of the RCA Dome, where the press box was open air and you heard and you saw absolutely everything, I got to hear exactly in covering the game. Now, I've been to games before, and I can certainly hear the crowd, but covering the game from my vantage point and others in that press box, you can't hear it, and you could hear it yesterday. Honestly, fan base is chomping at the bit. I don't blame you. The fan base to me sounds exactly like we have talked about over and over on this show. You are waiting for a reason. And not just the Ogletree catch, for example, for a touchdown. Everybody got fired up on that, but you'd already felt it was a foregone conclusion that the Colts were going to lose. And unfortunately, that is a prevailing thought now every time you walk into that stadium if you're a Colts fan. What is going to happen today that is going to sidetrack winning? What is going to derail this game, and how are the Colts going to lose it? And they always end up finding a new way. You know, obviously, this week, you look at the secondary, and as nightmarish as Darrell Baker Jr. of an afternoon last week he had against Cleveland, I think you upped the ante on the nightmare in that secondary for Tony Brown yesterday. I mean, something that he will never, ever want to talk about again. Don't blame him. But every time you walk in, you think about a new, sometimes not but most of the time, new way to lose a game. And unfortunately, Lucas Oil Stadium has far become an easy mark. It's become an easy mark around the NFL where you go in here and you absolutely expect to win. Now, granted, last year with that in mind was an absolute circus. I mean, really, for most of the season, maybe minus the first month of the year, but it was a circus. And this year, as I thought more and more about this year, to me, is just right now validating what a lot of us thought. And this is no pat on the back for me, because I'll be the first to tell you, I want to see teams around here at some point start doing well. Because it has been such a long time since they have. I mean, anybody has. An extended period. It's been a long time. Maybe here or there, or you bring up other sports and you go, well, hey, what about this soccer program? What about Carmel swim program? I'm talking about either professional or collegiately. It seems like forever since something substantial and something consistent has been put together. So when you get bits and pieces of it, you want to embrace it. You want to see how far you can take it. I always reference last year with the Pacers, where there were zero expectations. And then they gave you a reason in December to get excited about something. And you know what? That was long-lasting. Long-lasting to the end of the season, even in a campaign in which they didn't go to the postseason. There was nothing to write home about there. There was nothing thrilling there. It's just, hey, you know what? I kind of feel the future. And what it really sucks about all of this right now, the Colts are 3-5, and you're looking at another season to where you would have to make drastic, unbelievable amounts of headway to even sniff being competitive in your division again. But you also have to think about, all right, what are the reasons why you kind of felt decent about this season, even if you didn't feel the Colts are going to win, is because of the growth, the maturation, and the quarterback situation. Felt good about that. Got to see that. Whatever happens, happens. And now you don't have that. You don't even have that to lean on. Seems like anytime you grasp something that is working, the next week is going to go away. Give you a great example of that. I have a promo that's running right now that talks about Shane Steichen. And again, I do believe Shane Steichen is going to be a good offensive coach. Don't get me wrong. I could be completely wrong myself on this. I just think this guy outsmarts himself. You know, we always use that term, believes he's smarter than everybody else in the room. We've always used that about Chris Ballard. And then we come to find out that maybe he's not. I think right now that's the case too. Outsmarting yourself. Until proven otherwise. And this is, again, I'm not being negative long-term on Shane Steichen, because he also, as a head coach, has a lot to learn. I think everybody understands that. But because they won some games, because we sit here and talk about the schedule being soft, and because you just haven't seen it consistently in a while, or consistently to where it mattered, you can say, well, the year before last, you know how good things were leading up to Christmas night or past Christmas night, and things went down the tube. And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't last. Even going back to the River season, you would take that right now, no matter what the circumstances, that regular season. You'd take it. Take it and run with it. Unfortunately, you make the postseason, and it is a quick in and then a quick exit. There's nothing sustainable. And that brings me to the point that I had, and I went back and watched, for whatever reason, I never do this. I went back this morning and watched the second half, and it occurred to me, this team is so much like what we thought. But you get caught up in a sense of believability with an organization that hasn't delivered in such a long time that you lose sight of that. Yeah, there's no excuses given here because we're going to rip on a lot of people, and a lot of people deserve it. That's just the way that it is. But we ourselves get caught up because it has been so few and far between of things to be happy about, things to enjoy. And especially in terms of longevity, we kind of just jump on the moment. We jump on the moment. And as I was watching that second half, I'm thinking, you know what? These guys may be the nicest dudes, and they're just not a good team. They're not a good team. You know, a team that was really believable, a good team you could get behind and believe in, that would have a little bit of season longevity in it, wouldn't look like that at times. And I'm talking about both on the field and coaching-wise. Like, a lot of people want to point to Shane Steichen and say, well, it's more about management. It's not about coaching. No, I believe it is about coaching. I believe it's about coaching because you end up putting your guys in situations to where more than likely it's not going to be successful. That's coaching. That to me is not management. Coaches will tell me that I'm wrong, and that's okay. That is just my philosophy on it. I mean, you manage who's out there, but you coach up in situations. And so many times, what do we think about Gardner Minshew as a backup quarterback before the start of the season? You thought about him as a guy that you felt really comfortable. And really that also went into the regular season, the early regular season when you saw him so much because the rookie quarterback couldn't stay out there. But when he came in, it was like he came in and just short passes and above all else didn't turn it over. And that was his MO. You know what? He could make sure the ship stays afloat. He wasn't going to do anything that was going to get you beat. And now we have seen recently he is doing his damnedest to maintain losing with either decisions that his coach and offensive coordinator pass along to him on the field or just decisions he makes alone on the field. You watch yesterday, they're down 1 in the third. And Zach Moss had just ripped off a 41-yarder. And it was weird. I didn't obviously see this because I couldn't hear it and watch it while I'm in the stadium. But I think it was Mark Sanchez that mentioned right before the Minshew interception, which he could have had 2, mind you, and a fumble. But right before the Minshew interception, he said, you know what? The Colts found something here right now. They're in a groove. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but the description's accurate. No, these guys are really in a groove right now, and they found out that running the football is eating up some chunk yardage. They're in field goal range. They're down 1. I mean, look strong. Maybe you end up pushing that in for a score. Not have to settle for a field goal. And then the very next play. I mean, these words are like a cartoon comic book character in a bubble. The words are floating above Mark Sanchez's head. The next play, Minshew snaps the football, looks downfield, nothing available, trying to make something out of nothing. And there's a difference between making something out of nothing and trying to make something happen that's not there. And there's 0 there, none. And when he releases the football, you go, what in the hell is happening here? And there was the interception. And that to me, that was the biggest, to me, turning point in the game. Now, they still may have given up chunk yardage and scores because I guess you don't know defensively what Taysom Hill does or Kamara just being too good. All these excuses you can hear. Maybe they still end up giving that up. But that was the defining moment in that game, and that's been the defining moment in this season so far. They give you a couple of expectations. They get you down the field. You start thinking that they're not what they are on the field. And what they are on the field is just simply put, not a good football team. And that's what a lot of us felt this was going to be this season. It's just different now because it's not a spot that you're willing to live with these mistakes. If it were the rookie quarterback, I'm sure we would still be critical. We would still talk about it, but you would be more than willing, I'm assuming, if there were also good plays in there to factor in, to live with those mistakes. And you're just not now. This is not supposed to be the Gardner Minshew season. It's supposed to be the Richardson season. I just thought yesterday painted a perfect portrait of what this team is not. That maybe sometimes gets lost in the shuffle of excitement or just the simple fact that you haven't had consistent winning of any kind for such a long time. It gets lost in the muck of the fact this team just isn't any good. I mean, you look at New Orleans, I know what you're going to say. Well, New Orleans is only 4-4 with that win. Look how bad they played up until then. But you look on their team and the defining players that they have and the quarterback right now. I mean, even if you want to complain about Derek Carr, that I'm assuming that most of you would take in a pinch over Gardner Minshew right now. You know, somebody that hasn't been with a defensive line. You get somebody that comes off the edge. In a secondary that can cover. It's been a disappointing team so far, but it is a disappointing team that has done so still with talented guys. The Colts just don't have that level of talent, especially at those skill positions. I think sometimes we get swept up, and I know I do. I want to see some consistency, something good to talk about, because it squeezes the life out of you to have to come in here every single day and be pissed or pissy about something. I don't know how all these political hacks do it, because every day you got to come up with something that you're pissed off at the world about, man, and it just, to me, it breaks me down. Like, I want to see something where you can rejoice and come together. If nothing else is happening in our lives right now, everything kind of stinks. Hey, you know what? This is what you can lean on. And it's been such a damn long time you've had that around here. This is what you're kind of left with, those simple moments to where, you know what, you're excited about it, and then poof, so quickly it's gone. And it's even tougher to swallow when what was supposed to be a realistic test pattern of a season, a reboot at quarterback, and whether you like it or not, and again, you know how I feel about it, a reboot at general manager, a reboot at head coach. In terms of Jim Irsay, you get a reboot in philosophy. And it's much more difficult to accept when the reboot at quarterback, which is the most significant position in professional sports, is not out there to see, both the shortcomings, the shortfalls, and the positive results. And then you're left with this. And there's just nothing fulfilling about that. And I'm assuming that's how most of you streamed out of that stadium yesterday. Completely and utterly unfulfilled. That's how it felt at the end of the game. It was just like no chance. And it does wear you out. Yeah, that moment with Minshew, to me, was the largest. We can get into the defense, too. It's funny. When you talk about a bad team, and I'll double back to last week, and I will feel this way regarding the matchup. Like last week, I said, you got to throw it all out there, and you got to go after P.J. Walker. When you blitz, you get there. Yeah, I know you're going to get beat on the back end, but when you do it, you get there. Now, games are different. Yeah, last week with P.J. Walker is much different than what you have with Derek Carr, no matter what you think about Derek Carr. I'm not trying to suggest the guy is Dan Marino, but compared to P.J. Walker, he's Tom Brady. So you have to handle that differently. But, not being prepared from either in the offseason, not being prepared from an injury standpoint, left you with a guy that was a question mark in Tony Brown on Friday to even play. and my man had an absolute nightmare out there. But he was not alone. You got money, you got time, you got draft selections, you have effort in guys up front that, unless we're talking about circumstances, as I mentioned last week, when you throw everybody at them, they rarely, if ever, it feels, get home to the quarterback. And that is a major concern, i.e. a major disappointment from yesterday. Whether you want to blame that on Gus Bradley or Chris Ballard or just the individual defensive players themselves, there is a share of the blame to go around. Incredibly unfortunate. 3-5. 3-5, and I cannot think, at least at this point of the season, a worst-case scenario on the horizon than this 3-5 team. Losers now of 3 consecutive. This 3-5 team, I guess you can see, at least it's on the road, right? At least they have a chance because it's on the road and not inside their own stadium. But can you imagine, can you allow yourself just for a moment to think about Sunday and go into Carolina, where they just got their first win of the season against the Houston Texans yesterday, and then losing to the head coach that Jim Irsay bounced this time last year? I don't know how juice Frank Reich ever gets. It always seemed like he was even keel, both good and bad. But if there was anything that was going to juice you up, talk about the mark that is coming into your stadium for a one-win team. And so many reasons to get one over. And listen, I'm assuming that they all get along. Like if Frank Reich sees Jim Irsay, shaking of hands, what I'm sure. But come on now. If you're Frank Reich, if you've ever been in a situation as Frank Reich was, you know what you want, don't you? You want payback. If you don't want payback, then you're just not a competitive person in general. Everybody wants payback. That is the beyond mid-season cherry on top of a horrible season. If you go to Carolina on Sunday and lose to the Panthers, a one-win team, to the coach that you fired during the season this time last year. So I don't know. Normally they say the old saying is, the best is yet to come. I'm not sure. I am not sure about that. Because that seems rather ugly to me. And if you allow yourself to think about it, it may make you nauseous. Yesterday, that's what yesterday brought to the table. One of their last 9 inside their own stadium. Whoa. And believe me, I've gone through some bad times. You don't know anything on bad times, you younger generation. Nothing. Like James is over here rocking like a 27-year-old with 5,000 tattoos, has no idea what it felt like in the mid to late 80s around here. Most of the time, has no idea. But still, that would be ugly. All right, we'll get to more of the issues. I'm just scratching the surface on that. Those were just my thoughts initially, as I like to present to you on a Monday after a game. And certainly they're not good for a variety of reasons. You get dragged down that path, you get the carrot dangled, and then all of a sudden it gets pulled back, and you're kind of left going, hey, left to understand that this is simply put a bad football team. And as I mentioned in the promo that's floating around here too, it's a wasted season. Wasted season. And you ask about Jonathan Taylor. Again, I think Jonathan Taylor's usage, and I note Jake had mentioned, are they just saving him because they know this year is going to be bad? Maybe that's the case. I just think that Shane Steichen right now as a coach and an offensive coach, I think that he will outsmart himself. I think we've seen him do that now in 2 consecutive weeks, because I don't care what you suggest about your thoughts of the remainder of the season. He is your best offensive weapon. Honestly, he is your best weapon. Your best weapon. I have so many incredible analogies So many incredible analogies. You're thinking right now, aren't you? You're thinking right now, I wonder what JMV's analogy is with how you utilize or justify the utilization of Jonathan Taylor in that second half. And I know things got haywire. They had to throw it. Yeah, they didn't have to throw it when they weren't putting him on the field or when they weren't handing off to him. They were working the football up until on the ground, up until Gardner Minshew also was thinking outside the box, or in this case, thinking outside the pocket. And it all went haywire. And I think closely related to that is the thought process of outsmarting yourself that Shane Steichen can do. So you grow out of that. We shall see. Hey, Pacers off to a 2-0 start on the season. I don't care. Without Donovan Mitchell, without Darius Garland, without Jared Allen, you go over to Cleveland and you do what you should do. Last Wednesday night, Gainbridge Fieldhouse, you go in there and you beat a Washington team that's not predicted to be very good. You do what you should do. Tonight at home against Chicago, that I think Zach LaVine scored 51. I think they lost over the weekend too, right? But that is a team where you do what you should do. And that is when the Pacers, depth-wise, looks good. The Pacers have given up 30-plus, I believe, in 4 of the 8 quarters in which they've played so far. Leading the league through the first 2 games in scoring. Actually, they give up like 116, I think. Is that true? I'd have to look that up. I think they're averaging 134. Again, this 2 games. 134 and giving up 116. At some point, the defense has to improve, but you just keep laying it out there offensively. And really, to this team so far, there have been consistent points. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton, especially down the stretch. But, Bruce Brown didn't have a great offensive game whatsoever on Saturday night in Cleveland. But Aaron Nesmith did off the bench. And that can make up for a lot of stuff, especially in an incredibly long NBA season. We could talk about that. UND yesterday in an exhibition game. Purdue, Arkansas at an exhibition game over the weekend. Purdue and IU football's not really worth the time or the effort any longer, I don't think. Got a lot to talk about today. We're out early, too. Remember that. So Stephen Holder's at 5. Colts Roundtable's coming up at 5:30. Bulls Pacers at 6:30. So we're going to have to get you in here at 239-1070. Early and often on the show. And we bail at 5:30 today. James is here. I'm John. Thank you for joining us. The Win Schuler Spreadable Cheeses Lounge via YouTube Live. Get in there. You can respond. You can participate. You can watch, listen, all that stuff. The stream, the app, HD radio, and your calls, your thoughts on yesterday. Coming up on the other side. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
a lot cooler if you did.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Minshew out of the gun. In motion right side is Michael Pittman Jr. Ball in the near hash. And Pittman is wide open on the near flat. He's at the 5, diving for the pylon on the far sideline. Give it to him. No signal yet. There it is. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Michael Pittman Jr. from Gardner Minshew on 4th and 1. They find the end zone for a touchdown.
Matt Taylor right there on the call. Of course, a football Monday here in the afternoon with me and JMV on the Fan, brought to you by Shane Company. Fine jewelry since 1929. Shane Company, made to shine. Now, I know what you're thinking out there. I'm going to beat you to it. You know, if Jonathan Taylor wants to touch it more, he should have come out in the locker room yesterday and said, hey, I guess I wasn't a part of the second half game plan. Because I'm sure that it was just a coincidence. And again, Michael Pittman Jr. said all the right things afterwards. I get it. I get all of that. But they shot down last week's 5 targets in the first quarter yesterday. Hey, can you imagine? And again, Jonathan Taylor said after the game that he trusts whatever Shane calls. But if you were Jonathan Taylor, we just said, hey, I guess I'm not a part of the game plan here in the second half. 90-plus yards in the first half, and la-dee-da. Here we is. How do you guys view that? You guys view, my thought is that there is a difference. I view that more as coaching than managing. And maybe there's no difference. Any of you folks out there a coach? Is it the same thing? I viewed it as coaching decisions, not like a managerial decision. Because you got Game 3 of the World Series later on tonight. Maybe I'm wrong about that. That's just how I view it. Yeah, I think that Shane, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the couch and psychoanalyze anybody. I just think that he outsmarts himself. You guys view it that way, or is it just bad decisions? I'm not trying to soften the blow on criticism, either last week at the end of the half or poof, what happened at 28 in the second half, because you can, in the fourth quarter, for example, later in the game, you can make the argument, well, you know what? You take him out of the equation, now you got to start throwing. But I'm going to respond with this. It wasn't the case in the third. You unplugged him yourself. And if you are this genius offensive mind, then for God's sake, find a way to utilize him. I have the greatest John Holmes reference to this right now, and I'm not quite sure the audience would understand. Well, yeah, you would understand it. Some of you may not know who he is. Got a great one right here, but David Wood would come down here and say that is a rated X analogy. Got a good one, but I'm not going to use it. That's just my thought. I think that Shane is going to be a good coach. But don't sit here and tell me that, well, you know, once you get past this point, then you just unplug him. Find a way to use. Am I asking too much? Am I asking too much? Got to find something that is your best, and you don't use it. That's what I would ask. That's what I'd be curious about. And then also your thoughts on, you know, coaching within a game as opposed to, well, that's not game management. That wasn't great. I almost look at that more as a philosophy. Well, this is what I thought would take place here. That's like the outfoxing that I'm describing. Jeremiah says, who gets traded from the Colts in a fire sale, Taylor or Moss? Maybe I will be surprised tomorrow. I'll be really surprised if they do anything. I will be surprised. I'd be surprised. And maybe it is for the betterment of the team. I mean, you never know. I mean, we're at a point right now, and I think I'm the only one that doesn't get completely jacked up every time you hear picks. Like, I've become picks, and I've said this before, the terms trade value, that stuff drives me nuts anymore. I'm to a point now where I never want to hear it. I do know that you can better yourself by doing things of that nature, but I'm just telling you how I feel about that. Okay, get yourself a nice, quality 6-rounder. Well, maybe it's going to turn into this guy, and he's been really good. Well, maybe it will turn into the 20 guys that have sucked. Flip a coin. I'd be shocked. And I know you don't have a home game again until Tampa Bay coming in town. So you go Carolina. Good Lord Almighty. Can you imagine? You lose to Carolina? And Frank Reich? Whew. Okay, yeah, trade a couple of frontline players tomorrow and then go to Carolina and lose to Frank Reich. It sounds like a plan. So then you go overseas to Frankfurt, and 3 people are going to go. And then you come back, and you have a bye week, and everybody gets to exhale, and then your next home game, nobody shows up. Jim McCann says, please send your unusable analogies to... Thank you. And listen, I know that Jake before me is the king of analogies. I am the king of dirty analogies. I'm very proud of that honor. Thank you very much. C. Fitch chimes in. Chris Ballard needs to get some damn talented DBs in here versus the ones he got. Yeah, well, you can say that about a lot of things. So what, we're thinking now? Where are we now? See, I don't even want to bring it up. You guys want to bring up, well, now this top pick needs to be somebody coming off the edge. I don't even want to get in there. It is the day before Halloween. And you want to talk about the Colts draft in April. That makes me want to vomit. That's the pattern, however. Kevin's at 239-1070. Hey, lighten up this show a little bit, Kev. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for taking my call, John. First time, and I wanted to thank you for all you do in the community first. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love working with Teachers Treasures. Now, I think beyond that, trying to think what I do. I go play basketball, and I cuss a lot. Yes, you're welcome.
And you tease us with X-rated analysis.
I do. You know what? I'm like the Spice Channel. I'm going to take you to a point, and then I'm going to cut to something else. Yes.
You are. The tease king.
I'm the tease.
All right, man. Hey, 2 things. I heard you and Coach Venturi on the pregame, and it makes me look now back, with hindsight, wish there was a direct line from Rick to the sideline. He talked about how our identity is ground and pounds, and they left it. The other thing that he mentioned from the previous game was you got a guy at quarterback that could not hit the side of the barn if pressured from 12 yards, and we let that happen again. I just, I'm with you on its coaching. I really feel like we've got an issue on both sides of the ball. Steichen's a genius, but you're right. I think he does outthink himself sometimes.
Kevin, I appreciate the kind words. I do agree with you on that, by the way, too. And Venturi was outstanding yesterday on the pregame show. Absolutely outstanding. And even more outstanding in a personal call, he called me after the game, which I wish I could podcast that, but alas, I cannot. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you.
It's Jared chimes in with this. I just think Colts fans should revisit the preseason expectations for this team. Started out strong, playing a replacement level quarterback in a transition season. When AR went down for the year, everybody needed to reset expectations and just relax. And I mentioned that at the beginning of the show. I think that Jared is easier said than done. Because you did see, success in Baltimore. You saw success at least once in the past 9 tries at home against Tennessee. you see that success, and this NFL market, this fan base is starved for anything. Seriously. I was down at Horseshoe, Indiana, for their champions deal on Saturday with Jake. And it's like one of those jockeys in preparation. I mean, you get to eat half a peanut. You can't eat anything. I mean, these guys have to be hungry as hell, right? You guys around here are hungry as hell. And when you get to latch on to something, you do. And oftentimes it has become fool's gold. So I do think that's par for the course. That's why I said this, as it turns out, is a team that, simply put, Jared, is not any good. They are who we thought they were going to be. Before you win a couple of games and you get excited and you just hope that this is one of those seasons like you saw in Andrew Luck's first that came out of nowhere. Unfortunately, this season is going nowhere. And that's definitely where we are. This part of the show, football conversation on a Monday, brought to you by the Shane Company, made to shine. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. I'll lead with Roland on the other side. 4 o'clock hour to get to this as well. And any Pacer comments, we'll take those as well at 239-1070. Inside the Windschuler Spreadable Cheeses Lounge via YouTube Live, the stream, the app, HD Radio, and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Dr. Pepper, make it fast. I'm in a damn hurry.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Minshew out of the gun. 1st and 10 for the Colts. In motion right side, Josh down. Shotgun snap again, left side give. Here's Jonathan Taylor again, cuts it up. 50, he's at the 40. In Saints territory, still going. And he's tackled and pushed forward from behind inside the 20-yard line. An explosive run for Jonathan Taylor all the way down to the Saints 18.
Yeah, you got to find a way. Matt Taylor right there on the call. All right, I know you get behind, you got to throw it. Yeah, bad answer for yesterday. You had time to throw it. You got to figure a way to get your best player the football. You just do. They did not, and that's what happens. Hey, JMV, the Ravens game was fool's gold. Everyone got hype and forgot the goal of the season, let Anthony Richardson grow. Boom. Problem is, you can't now. Oh, I know. He can observe, he can watch, and that's all great, but nothing again, Pelt Dog. Nothing is going to compare to actually being out there and taking on that wrath. So I agree with you on that, but it's very easy. It's very easy for this fan base to run and jump on anything positive because rarely has it happened, and certainly even more rare than that has it been sustainable. Thank you, my brother. Roland's up next at 239-1070. Welcome to the show, Roland.
Well, thank you. I agree with you. Stain Shiken has outsmarted himself. Here is a guy that had 2 healthy running backs and 2 decent receivers, and you chose to call a quarterback run. That we should have been utilizing that opportunity to develop his pocket presence, Anthony Richardson, and now it's gone. So I just want you to weigh in on that. Why would you call a design quarterback run? You got 2 healthy running backs.
I will say this, and Roland, thank you for the call. To me, the most egregious play of the game was having Zach Moss break off that 41-yarder. Then the next play, you get I'm sure it wasn't designed in this case, but Minshew moving to his right out of the pocket and just heaving one up like some of you dudes would in your backyard. And they were down 1. Field goal, easy right there. Maybe you drive for 7. Instead, you get jack squat. They go the other way. I think it was Kamara that scored. That was the complete game changer. Taylor and Moss, 23 carries between them. Gardner Minshew threw it 41 times. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and accept they got behind and they had to throw it. When they started throwing it, they didn't have to throw it. That, to me, is outsmarting oneself. And that's what I brought up right there. We got plenty of time for you on the other side. Let me take a break. We'll come back for a full hour of conversation with me and you regarding yesterday. And I also want to get to some Pacers stuff. Pacers Bulls later on tonight, 6:30, your pregame coverage right here. That follows Colts Roundtable at 5:30. Yes, which means I got a stinking bail at 5:30 on a day like today. Holy hell. 100% wrong. I got this too. JMV, were you on every station at Radio 1? No, I wasn't on. I was on this building stations. I think I was on everything but Hank. If Hank played classic country, I'd be on Hank. I just don't want to play, Aldine and all that stuff. I don't need to talk up any Florida-Georgia line, unless it's anything goes, and we do that here. Quick break, we'll come back. If you get on hold, we'll talk at you. Hour number 2, Colts lose yesterday at home once again. One of their last night at Lucas Oil Stadium yesterday, it was the New Orleans Saints. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
This is Dwight Freeney, and I've teamed up with Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana to get the word out about how you can save lives in your community. Did you know that more than half of the people waiting for a life-saving organ transplant are people of color? That's why I said yes to being an organ donor, because I want to help end the wait. You can help too. Sign up to be an organ donor next time you're at the BMV and talk to your family about your decision.
Hey, it's JMV, and it's almost here, Avon. We proudly invite you to your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store opening Monday, November the 6th at 9905 East U.S. Highway 36. Come be one of the first to see the new store with the best in sports equipment, outdoor gear, clothing, and shoes, all at low prices. Check out Academy's wide selection of brands like Nike, Adidas, Brooks, Carhartt, The North Face, Yeti, Titleist, and more. Plus, we have all the gear you need to rep your favorite team, and we're a proud partner of the Indianapolis Colts. The first 150 customers in line when the store opens Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 18 and over, get a free mystery gift card with $15,000 in total weekend prizes. Shop grand opening deals on the best brands in sports and outdoor gear. Get a free gift when you participate in our in-store treasure hunt. Don't miss all the grand opening fun Friday through Sunday, November the 10th through November the 12th. The deals and giveaways will be going on all weekend.
When winter's at its worst, snowplow professionals need the best. That's why your local Boss dealer has the ultimate lineup of snow and ice solutions you need. Front to back, Boss leads with advanced truck plows and spreaders, compact equipment, heavy equipment, and time-saving tools to clear any surface area. Keep them open with a Boss snowplow, built to back you up.
Get them before they're sold out at Midstate Truck Equipment, Allisonville Road at 106th Street, 849-4903 or mid-statetruck.com.
It's JMV here. This time of year, we give thanks, right? And Forum Credit Union is thankful, in fact, for you. Forum has been serving the financial needs of the community, everybody across Indiana since 1941, whether it is helping you save, maybe helping you purchase one of your dream situations, a home, a car, or making sure that you're set for the future in your child's education. Nobody has been more important to you than Forum Credit Union. They continue what they do and do at the absolute highest level. To check out their unique and original ways to help you save, to help you budget, and budget in terms of the future, stop by a branch location today or log on forumcu.com.
There's a more intelligent way to keep your home comfortable this fall. Luxair Premium Residential Systems, with unquestionable efficiency to save you money. Undeniable quality, because every Luxair unit is designed, engineered, and assembled to last, backed by industry-leading warranties. Now that's a smart choice in home comfort. Contact Capital Supplies to learn more about becoming a Luxair dealer. Capital Supplies and Luxair, a combination you can count on. 317-926-6061.
Your plumbing needs, all of your plumbing needs at one place. Lance and his local team at L.D. Smith Plumbing. I need one of those new tankless water heaters. Here's why. I take like 35-minute showers, very hot, and with, maybe a normal, for example, water heater, you're going to run out of that hot water. With tankless water heater, you do not. So if you're thinking about that and make a move on it, call today, 317-927-7186. The best in plumbing online, ldsmithplumbing.com.
Hey, it's Dan Dockage here for Affinity Whole Health. I've been on the testosterone treatment for quite some time now, and I got to tell you, it's made this a great summer. I have enjoyed summer this year more so than any in a long, long time. Why? Because I feel fantastic. The testosterone treatment has given me energy that maybe at 60, 61 I shouldn't have, and it's also allowed me to chase Lee Ross around the house a little bit like we're college kids. Go to feelgreatindy.com.
Whether it's driving a race car, building a business, or just being mom, you gotta solve problems. I'm former IndyCar driver Sarah Fisher, and when my problem was foot pain, the Good Feet store became my problem solver. Having the Good Feet store on your team is like having a great pit crew, helping to keep the feet and body in alignment and well balanced. Now I drive, walk, run, and live life pain-free. At the Good Feet store, they know that foot pain can impede everyday life. It's a constant battle that can affect you physically and emotionally, putting a strain on everything from small tasks to big adventures. As Indy's premier arch support specialist, the Good Feet store enhances the quality of life for anyone desiring to live life without limits. My Good Feet arch supports help me cruise through my days in comfort. See how they work for you with a free, personalized fitting at either one of our 2 Indianapolis locations, or make an appointment at goodfeet.com.
From the DriveHubler.com studios, this is 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, HD3, Indianapolis.
The Ride with JMV.
Look at all those ding-dongs.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back, Hour 2. I was just informed by our incredible executive producer, Todd Meyer. In fact, yesterday I was on the Colts pregame huddle on Hank FM, so I did do all the stations in this building. So in honor of being on Hank FM as well yesterday, I'll play something that I'm assuming is in their rotation right now. This is for Hank FM. Turn it up. Is this in their rotation? Does Cole in the morning play this?
I mean, it sounds like it would be.
I think Cole, once upon a time, worked in Vincennes. I think this is what they play 24/7, 365.
This is in Deliverance, isn't it?
Maybe. Shout out to Hank FM. If that's not in their heavy rotation, it should be. Colts Roundtable at 5:30 this afternoon. I bail a little bit early. Stephen Holder coming up at 5 o'clock. Bulls and Pacers tonight. Your pregame coverage begins right here at 6:30. The Pacers 2-0 on the season, getting the Bulls at Gainbridge Fieldhouse coming up later on tonight. Hey, shout out, by the way, I thought, and you know how much I love Paul Casaro down at UIndy. Paul Casaro and Mike Burris, everybody, from Greene County. I should have you turn that back up. But hanging in there, playing well yesterday at a first-half lead. Then IU went out and got a win at Assembly Hall yesterday over UIndy. But well done by UIndy. And you know, any Paul Casaro team that he played on, whether we're talking about Ron Colley or UIndy, is going to fight you. And they did that yesterday. Good for them. Inside IU basketball later on tonight. That is at 10:30. So we got you set right here. Bulls and Pacers. You guys want to talk some Pacers? We certainly can. Aaron Nesmith had a great game on Saturday. Miles had himself a double-double, I think 20 and 13. Tyrese Halliburton may have had issues that Pepto-Bismol had to take care of, kind of like the Saints, I guess, did here over the weekend. They must have all chugged Pepto-Bismol. But Tyrese Halliburton, I guess he did as well, because incredible late finish, knocking down, I believe, 3 threes late and securing that win in Cleveland. Pacers Bulls coming up later on tonight. 38-27 Saints over the Colts yesterday. Colts now 3-5 on the season. And would, I'm assuming, love to sidestep the incredible embarrassment of losing to the coach they fired this time last year and a 1-win team in Carolina on Sunday. Am I going overboard with that? Or is everything just really nice and have, well, you know, Frank's a good guy, so yeah, on that. Can you imagine? I don't care who you're talking about. If you're any type of competitor, there's no way you want that to happen. That is a cherry on top of the autumn fruitcake that is this Colts season so far at 3-5. Come on, you don't want that to happen. Kevin writes this at JMV. I agree 100% with your never talk about the draft stance. Whenever anyone talks about the Colts should lose for a better draft pick, I immediately know they are an amateur sports follower. Kevin, honestly, I get so sick and tired of hearing about draft capital, draft position, draft stock, picks. I kind of think about it this way. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just the way that I'm wired. I immediately go, hey, nerd, shut up. I do. That's exactly how I think. Now, that nerd's probably 1,000 times smarter than I am, and I gather that. Or as I like to say, has 1,000 times the smarts real good over me. I'll cop to that immediately, but I don't want to hear it. And I sure as hell don't want to hear it during the season. So I'm not really interested in hearing, well, you know, now maybe it's an edge rusher, not a wide receiver. Man, I don't want to hear it. Not even Halloween yet. So that is the level of suctitude we have reached around here, is now every single year you bring up the April draft before Halloween. Can you imagine? It's almost more embarrassing than losing the guy you fired this time last year next week. I'm not down with it. Oh, is that exact time? James keeping me on time here. Alex says we talk about the draft because it gives us hope in a loft season. No, you got plenty of time to do that. And I don't even know how much hope resides in that conversation either, Alex, to be completely honest with you. I get where you're coming from. Got to find something else. All right, 239-1070. I mentioned I have full time here in the 4 o'clock hour to talk with you. Stephen Holder of ESPN.com is coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Gardner Minshew in that ridiculous throw to me was the signature moment in the game. And you could pick a variety of things. It wasn't a great afternoon at all for Shane Steichen. And really, it wasn't a great afternoon because he unplugged what could have been a great afternoon for his best player. Seriously. And I know I should be talking about the defense more. And I know everybody wants to go all in on Gus Bradley, and that's okay. I'm not going to sit here and just continuously rip on Tony Brown, however, because we all know this. The dude just has no business being out there right now. Be like thrusting you out there. He has no business. And honestly, if you really want to tag a group defensively, tag the ones that are getting paid, tag the ones up front that were first and second round picks that everybody around here so desires. Everybody gets a sports arousal anytime somebody brings up the word pick. And think about what that group's not doing. And, oh, by the way, you got one guy that you also paid that's going to likely get paid again that's sitting at home on a 6-game mandated NFL suspension. Hallelujah. All right, 239-1070 is the number. Let me go to Bill on line 2. Bill, welcome to the show.
JMV, how are you doing today?
Bill, I'm fantastic, but I'm going to be better when I see you at Coach's on Thursday and GG's on Friday. That's how we know the good times are ready to roll. Go ahead.
We got to get the Colts back on the winning ways. Hey, not utilizing Jonathan Taylor is like Norman Dale in the movie Hoosiers, not drawing up initially the winning shot play for Jimmy. I mean, it's the same kind of. I'm thinking too much here. We're going to use you as a decoy or use the running game as a decoy.
It is out. It is. Yep. And you know what? The other players went, "Hey, Dork." In this case, Norman Dale. They said, "Hey, Dork, we're not going to get out of this huddle until you give it to the guy that's the best on this team in the moment right here." Yeah.
And that's why I think that the leadership of the team, somebody has to sit down with and get some kind of explanation as to why they're not doing this. This is just so abnormal for a football team to not go to the hot hand when you're trying to save your season.
I would agree with that too. And see, I don't buy the whole they got in a position to have to throw it. They put themselves in that position. Crap. I mean, they put themselves in that position. But furthermore, here, part of what I do believe in Shane Steichen as a coach in the future. But part of that belief is deeply rooted on something we haven't seen yet. I want to see him utilize their best weapon to the best of his ability. That's what I'm looking for. To me, that would be the difference between, this guy's just, your average type of offensive coach, or, hey, this is where he is getting a little bit of ground between he and those behind him by doing stuff. It's like I talked about last week. I thought offensively they did some things that Jim Schwartz wasn't ready for with the Browns defensively. I am looking for him to, with his so-called genius, find a way in this case to utilize Jonathan Taylor where, we got to unplug him here because we got Zach Moss in there. Find a way to utilize your best player. It doesn't sound that hard, and I know it's easy to say, much more difficult, I'm assuming, for him to do. But that's what I'm looking for somebody. To me, that's going to be the difference in what you are as, a regular type of offensive coach. That's going to take you to a different level. We haven't seen it yet.
I know last week we talked a little bit about the Eric Dickerson and Albert Bentley and why couldn't they play together be on the field at the same time. I think these two guys, I think Taylor and Moss on the field at the same time would be dynamic. And, oh, by the way, Taylor made one hell of a catch on the sideline during the game. So I don't know, if you don't want to run Jonathan Taylor, then throw him the ball, swing passes, screen passes, do something, but just shut the ball up to him and everything and let him do his thing. And as for the Pacers, it's great to see them starting off like this, being as deep as they are, and the way that they creatively find ways to, at least in the first two games, to win games that you kind of in the past would say, man, that's going to be in the losing column. So going to be looking forward to the Bulls tonight. But the big game is going to be on Thursday. So after Coach's Tavern, they're going to be all dialed in to when the Pacers are playing the Celtics.
Oh yeah, that's on the road too.
That's going to be a big test for them.
I don't like the Celtics. You like the Celtics?
I certainly didn't like when Bird played for them when they were going up against Chuck Person and you know what?
It's weird. I've always said this too. I did not embrace Bird during that era as much as I should have. And I guess it's because where I grew up and that's all you ever heard about was Bird. And then, yeah, I mean, you wanted your hometown team to do well, and he was, playing so well for the Celtics. I probably felt in a similar fashion.
Yeah, and plus they had, that Celtics team and everything. Kevin McHale, he wouldn't have started for a lot of teams and everything back in the day if he didn't have Robert Parrish and Larry Bird next to him. But yeah, didn't like the Celtics then, don't like them now. Certainly not going to like them on Thursday. We're going to chuck up some beers at Coach's Tavern, and I'll see you then.
You got it, Billy. Thank you very much. I always thought Kevin McHale reminded me of. Anybody got it in mind? What did he remind you of? He reminded me of Alan Alda, Hawkeye Pierce from MASH. I don't know why. This kind of looked the same. Tall, skinny, gangly. Hawkeye Pierce. Wait a minute. Is it Kevin McHale or Alan Alda out there? I love the McHale post moves, though. My man traveled about 65% of the time on those post moves. Oh, that's just great. He's got great footwork. Well, I would, too, if I changed my pivot foot. Jake Query says, not Alan Alda, but Herman Munster. Fred Gwynn, as he is known. Fred Gwynn. Fred Gwynn got off in Pet Cemetery, didn't he? Didn't that little boy run around, slice his Achilles tendon or something like that? Felt bad for Herman Munster in that one. Thought I'd bring that up given the fact tomorrow was Halloween, by the way. Manny's up next at 239-1070. Hello, Manny.
Hey, how you doing, JMV?
Manny, I'm okay.
Hey, man, I just want to take time out, man. A couple things to thank you, man, for the Versal Event Center, man. We had a great time.
Did you have? I'm glad you did. It's a hell of an opportunity to be had, right?
Yes, sir. And I appreciate it very much. Thank you. The atmosphere there, man, I felt that. I mean, how everybody was around. You had a lot of the post players down, and you also had the New Orleans fans down there. They was partying it up. It almost felt like the atmosphere, I almost felt like we was going to lose that game in some kind of way. I didn't feel the aura that we was going to win it. I don't know what it was. Maybe have been because the day was so cloudy as far as the weather. Yeah. But, I mean, the atmosphere in the event center was I didn't know what
that building, that if you're looking for it, thank you, Manny. I'm glad you had a great time at the Bullseye Event Center. Lucas Oil Stadium, right now, when you walk in there, you can tell this fan base has a great deal of doubt. Seriously, consistent losing has now set in. You walk in there and you're thinking about, so how's this team going to blank this thing up? One of their last 9. That is awful. We'd be making fun and poking fun. If it was the team that you hated, give me one of the NFL, the team that you hate the most. That's all you would be doing. We'd be making fun of a home record recently like that, a home record of the past 2 years. That mark resides right here. That's awful. Fred Gwynn. Thanks, Jay. I always saw Alan Alda. I don't know why. Weird, I guess. At JMV 1070 and inside the lounge via YouTube Live, the Winschuler Spreadable Cheeses Lounge, where cheese fever is sweeping central Indiana. I'm very proud of it, too. JMV, my Colts seats have gone up by 500 per seat since 2019, and they sure haven't won anything since then. Was it, I think it was Doyle. I think Greg Doyle had a column, and I have a differing opinion on this, talking about how, clearly the Colts just want to make happy, want to be liked by the fans and the players or whatever. I don't, the players, okay. The fans, let me tell you this. You win one of your last 9 inside that stadium and raise ticket prices year after year. That's not making anybody happy. And you may want to make the players on the team happy. We talked about that. And I don't know if that's in terms of, Tony Brown staying out there and Tony Brown needing to find a seat. I'm not quite sure who was going to be out there. It was like, well, I know Shane Steichen said after the game that, he had worked and they had confidence in him and they were going to let him roll. Clearly that was the case, or maybe you just put up your arms and thought, well, you know what? He's better than what else we have right here. Great. That guy was questionable on Friday. Then you're going to throw him out there? You imagine how much worse that could be? Olave had one bounce off his helmet. That's bad. No, but getting back to that column, maybe with the players, but with the fans, you guys happy? This whole thing making you happy? How are they making you happy? That's what I would question. How are you happy? That result create happiness? Last week, I even excused it. I gave the Greene County hillbilly, blame it on the officials. I can't hear, I can't see, might as well be a referee. That's what I did last week. That was even excused. And it's this bad. Ethan's next at 239-1070. Ethan, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, Ethan.
I got a question pertaining to the Pacers.
I think you should ask it.
How are we going to get Jarace Walker onto the court? We got Neesmith who popped off, and it's hard to find a way to get a rookie who's supposed to have this high defensive upside onto the court.
I will say this. If he is not ready, then don't play him. And that would be drastically different from, I guess, a Colts philosophy, right? If he's not ready, go ahead and play him. But no, if he's not ready, don't play him. They don't have any problems as of right now. And again, we're early in the season, but they don't have any problems right now, filling the needs that they have presently. So, yeah, I don't think that's that big of a deal. I'm assuming maybe an injury, but there's a reason as to why he's not a part of this rotation right now. And I think it's, a good reason. I mean, you could actually, let this happen and not force him into a situation that he is not prepared in doing. Anything else, Ethan?
I mean, I'll throw in real quick. Is there anything to take away from, IU playing the close game against UIndy or Purdue losing to Arkansas?
What's that now?
Is there anything to take away from, UIndy leading IU at halftime in these scrimmage games or Purdue losing to Arkansas?
I would like to think not. I'd like to think not. I mean, other than, and I'm not going to take anything away from UIndy, other than, Purdue goes, and it was a game for charity that they played on the road against Arkansas. But I'm glad that UIndy gets a chance to take their kids and their staff into Assembly Hall. And, the fact that they had a 2-point lead at the half, I mean, it's just, to me, it probably describes for IU a lot of what you're thinking right now is you don't really know what you're going to get. And it's going to take a minute to get, hopefully, to where Hoosier fans are accepting of a higher level product. It's going to take a minute. That's what I gathered from yesterday, I guess, listening to it.
All right, thanks.
Ethan, thank you very much for the call. Wednesday night, by the way. I think Bill mentioned the Pacers play on Thursday. Pacers play Wednesday night, I think. It's not up on the board. Thank you, Kristen Airy. Come on, Bill. No, actually, Thursday we're at Coach's downtown. Friday at Gigi's, which should be good. Hey, JMV, I was asking my fellow Section 637 people if anybody knew how to play cornerback. Yeah, you look at it two different ways, and he goes out there, so he's going to be in the crosshairs of criticism if you're Tony Brown. But the other way to look at it is, why? Why does it come to this? A guy that was questionable on Friday, why does it come to that? Yeah, I know you can say, well, injuries and Juju Brent and all that, but I think we can lay blame at the feet of more than just the corner in that situation. You guys agree? Hey, by the way, speaking of the Pacers, too, what did I say last week? That there was going to be a moment sooner rather than later that TJ McConnell is necessary out there for this team. It came pretty quick on Saturday, didn't it? You guys surprised how quickly that was there? Telling you, he brings a skill set that not a lot of dudes have. I'm not talking about instant offense or off the bench lockdown defense. He brings a speed, hellaciously hectic, and a mentality on the floor that not a lot of teams have coming off the bench. And you can tell me all day, well, his three-pointer, and you can't guard anybody. He is necessary on this roster. It took us 2 games to recognize that. 2 games. Back to you guys coming up on the other side as well. Again, we're 30 minutes short today because of Colts Roundtable, 5:30, 6:30. Bulls and Pacers from Gainbridge Fieldhouse coming up later on tonight as well. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Minshew out of the gun, ball in the far hash. Has it back to his left. That's Jonathan Taylor. Flushing out right side is Minshew. Minshew behind the line of scrimmage, taking a shot for the end zone. Has a man. That's Andrew Ogletree. Did he make the catch? He did! He did! It covers 33 yards. Andrew Ogletree from Gardner Minshew. Yes, sir! Touchdown! I-N-D-Y. That's just what the doctor ordered for the Colts.
That is Matt Taylor. Colts Radio Network. Had a great time yesterday, by the way, on the Colts pregame huddle. Did that inside the press box for the first time. I don't think I've ever done that inside the press box. Now, normally, and I miss out on the Bloody Mary routine, right? I can't get one up in the press box, but, man, it was a good time and a great show yesterday. Rick Venturi was outstanding on the Colts pregame huddle yesterday, too. More of Rick, Joe Wrights, and Matt Taylor coming up here at 5:30. Up 30 minutes in preparation for the pregame show coming up at 6:30 for the Bulls and the Pacers with Mark Boyle right here. Of course, it's a 7 o'clock start. Bulls and Pacers from Gainbridge Fieldhouse coming up later on tonight. BT asked me this. Didn't hear from Miles haters on Saturday, did you? I don't hear from them anymore. There is one GIF or meme using jackass, and we just kind of go back and forth. I don't even know what his name is. He is somebody that couldn't shoot a jump shot from what they tell me to save his life. He's a Pacers Digest guy. But we just kind of go back and forth, and he never says anything other than send me, what are the things called where they're like moving? Is it a GIF or a GIF? That's a GIF. Yeah. He sends GIFs. He sends gifts. Now, the other one is the one that Jake fights with all the time, named Regent Bryan, and he is just a trucker dip blank is all he is. That's nothing more, nothing less. It's all good. I mean, anymore, as I've told you, I mean, we're winners. So, and the pieces look like they're going to fit again. 2 games in. There is a long way to go here. You guys seen the November tournament floor? Did you see the Pacer floor that they're going to have for that? It kind of looks like a pool. I'm telling you, that's exactly what that guy saw in 1987 at the Pink Floyd concert at the Hoosier Dome when he was on drugs and he jumped from the upper deck. Yeah, I thought it was cool blue waves of water, man, and I thought I'd go to, and this is true, I've talked to the dude before. I just can't remember his name. This is such a true story. I don't know how this happened, and I'll go into fuller detail when we have more time. This is not for today. But once upon a time, I sat in Crazy Horse in Bloomington at a table for 4 with Downtown Johnny. You guys remember Downtown Johnny from WTTS 92.3 Days? That's John McGew, friend of mine, awesome guy. And for some reason, he brought with him this guy that plunged onto people back in the late 80s at a Pink Floyd concert at the then Hoosier Dome. So that guy was here. And former IU women's coach Jim Izzard. And if you know all about that, yeah, that's one that I needed to tape right there. There was one night only. It's one I needed to tape. Shout out to Downtown Johnny. Back in the day at WTTS. All right, back to you. Hey, Cap is up next at 239-1070. Hello, Cap.
What do you say, JV? How you doing today, man?
Cap, I'm waiting on you to call. Go ahead.
Man, I've been waiting to talk. How you doing? Hey, just real quick, man. I'm an IU fan. I grew up in Indiana, joined the Air Force, came back. But, man, it's hard to love them IUs, man. Let me tell you what happened.
Okay.
At the end of the game, 2 minutes left. You play the number 10 team in the nation. Tell me, why are you so happy about kicking a field goal? You know you have no chance in HE double to get back in the game and stop them from scoring. Is that what you want your coach to do? Is that what we're trying to do?
Yeah. No, you can't. You can't. There's no argument to be had for me, Cap. None.
Okay, so I'm just going to stick with the Pacers till everybody figures it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess at some point you probably just figure out it can't get any uglier here, so what the hell? So, but no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Okay. All right, just checking with you.
Anything else, Cap?
That's it, man. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll talk after Thursday after them Celtics come to town.
You got it, Cap. Thank you very much. The Celtics. Hey, reach out. I want to get Brad Stevens on sometime. I haven't talked to Brad in forever. I know. You guys really don't want to hear about the Celtics, but I haven't had Brad on in a while. Let's do that. See how things are going. Hey, Brad, do you remember where you're from around here, Mr. Zionsville? They are loaded. Holiday is going to be such a great addition to that team. Loaded. You know what else I love, too? I love this time of year because it only lasts for about 5 days. But I so celebrated having the NBA League Pass for a week. How much is that? Is that $500? See, I've been with DirecTV since 2000, and I pay so much stinking money every month. They should lob that to me absolutely free, but they won't. I mean, I can't get that. I can't get Hustler. No, I wouldn't ask for Hustler, as far as you would know. I can't get any of that for free, but I should get it for free. How much is it?
I'm seeing on here it says the commercial-free version is $19.99 to $22.99 per month, and that's about $129 to $149 per year. Is what I'm seeing, at least when I just quickly.
I don't know. What the hell did you just look up? There's a non-commercial version?
I just look up NBA League Pass cost.
There's a non-commercial version? No. I want the commercials. I don't want I want to see the Whataburger commercials when we're watching Rockets games. Can't go without that. I got to see a Carl's Jr. commercial when we're watching Lakers, Kings, Warriors, or Clippers. I thought it was around $500, but no. The moral of the story here is I love it. I was going around Warriors and Rockets last night. Had the Hawks and then the Bucks. I think Damian Lillard had 6 points last night, and then ended it with the Lakers and the Kings. What do you got, James?
With commercials, it says it's $99.99 for the season, according to NBA. Yeah, I'm on NBA.com.
Is it a month?
No, get 7 days free, then $99.99 per season.
I got to get. I thought it was $500.
You can get the commercial-free one for $149.
Oh, I don't need commercials. I got to see those commercials, man.
You're like the only person that would choose to have
the commercials. I watched the because much like we see with Daenerys and JJ and Quinn, every team has their own, and I believe Houston's is called Space City Network. But Atlanta has one, and it's some dude with Brian Oliver. Brian Oliver, if you remember, I believe played at Georgia Tech. See, these are some guys we need to get on. I would talk to these guys. They normally have an ex-player that does a studio show or, works as the analyst like Quinn does on the sideline. But I love that stuff. I do. JT's up next at 239-1070. Hello, JT. Hey, JT, I'm here for you. You with me? Is JT supposed to be there?
He should be.
That is incredibly unfortunate. We'll see if JT gets back on board. Kevin at 239-1070. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, John. How you doing, man?
Kevin, I'm outstanding.
I was just getting into it with my neighbor. So
yeah, what's going on there? We got some.
Well, I've been here for 18 years, man. He just moved here about 3 years ago, but really he should have been moving into a senior citizen home. So any little noise I make, my dog bark or anything, he's complaining. And I'm like, dude, we got a good thing going on over here.
Does he call the cops on you?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does, So anyway,
let's say, hey, Kevin, let's hope that this works out in a good way here. Maybe you guys can find some common ground.
We will.
Yeah.
We will. We're gonna have another conversation, but I think that'll kind of shore things up.
Did you just get into it with him?
Yeah. He's come over talk. Well, we had a movie night,
right?
And he comes out, come on, and I'm like, dude, we had a movie night one night. It was respectable as far as the sound.
Yeah.
But do we do this every weekend? No. I mean, we've been here 18 years. That's the first time we've done it. But he's only been here about 3 years. That's the first time we've done it. You know what I mean? So, he needs to just get a grip. And
how old is he?
Just told him,
how old is the guy?
He's pushing about 70.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Kevin.
Said, man,
Tell him you're a part of this show and say, hey, man, why don't you go out with a JMV Larceny Bourbon Locks Luna Azul Tequila Shots Thursday, and JMV will chill you out with some cocktails. We'll have an old-fashioned. We'll talk over how we can be reasonable, very calm, and enjoyable neighbors. How about that?
Well, we were having some choice beverages that night, and I offered him that as well. You know, I'm like, dude, pull up a seat. We're having a good movie. Choice beverages, you know, just join us. You know, but I don't know. We'll be all right.
All right.
Man.
Well, if you want to use me, if you want to use me to help grease the wheel, I'm here for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You
man.
got it, buddy. Go ahead.
Hey, I wanted to say, man, JMV, I'm getting to that point, man. You know, remember you were talking about last year. You know, you don't want the fans to get to where they don't care or they expect to lose or. You know, we're talking about draft picks in October. I'm like, dude, man, you know, I'm a fan that I like to say that I understand the game and I recognize when, you know, adjustments need to be made within 60 minutes. And, you know, so I'm always like, oh, we're going to lose. My wife's like, oh, here you go. I'm like, I know what I'm looking at. You know what I mean? But when I said all that to say, you know, last week everybody's talking about, well, if you lose a turnover battle, you shouldn't win. But the thing is, we overcame that within the game, and we were actually winning. So at that point, forget the turnover battle. At this point, you know, we were having a good thing. We were looking better than everybody expected us. You know what I mean? So forget talking about draft picks. Hey, we're looking like we're going to be something. Let's be something. You know what I mean? But when you have the big letdown like we've been having the last 2 weeks, you know, it's just like, I'm getting to the point, man, I'm just like, man, I don't even care, man. I'll still watch, but I hate that. You know what I mean? Because I'm a diehard fan. You know, but I have to say, it's safe to say, a lot of fans are getting like that.
Well,
you know,
and there is no doubt. That's what happens, too, Kevin, when you win one of your last 9 in that building. That's how people walk in to that building. And somebody had asked me earlier if I felt that they were going to utilize the trade deadline. I don't know if they will, but I think if they do and you end up squeezing out, you know, a 6th-round pick or whatever, nobody around here is going to care about that and care even less, especially if it is a significant player or a significant name, will care even less about your product this year. So,
yeah. And I just think, you know, I think you're right about not running the ball and, you know, questionable calls and stuff like that in terms of the offense. But, JMV, we have got to do something about the defense because what difference does it make?
You're right.
If we do things on the offensive end, but we still let them go out there. I mean, you got to do 3 catches for 153. That means we didn't have a backfield out there yesterday. I mean, it was just straight up front 7 only.
Let me tell you this, too, and that's why, to me, there's a lot more to be expressed, criticism-wise, to the group up front. Than there is to a guy like Tony Brown, because, I mean, you get out of Tony Brown what you expect, but there has been a lot of time and effort and high draft selections and money that has gone in up front that right now is not paying off and not consistently pays off. You haven't seen it consistently pay off. It's been disappointing. And that, to me, is a bigger deal than what you saw, embarrassingly speaking, on the back end of things yesterday with Tony Brown. And much like Daryl Baker Jr. last week.
You can also say Kenny Moore. I mean, because the thing is, if you lose Kenny, if you're worried about losing Kenny Moore in the backfield, it doesn't matter. You're still getting beat. So go ahead and try. Every time Kenny Moore rushes the passer or EJ Speed, they get home and they make something happen. It may be a completion, but at least the dude's throwing it on the run. That's why I'm like, it's just easy, man. And I'm like, at some point, something's got to be done about Gus Bradley, either his scheme, a come to Jesus or something, or just a replacement, because we're just too much on the wrong side of these games, man, and it's because of the defense down the stretch, my opinion.
It has been bad. Kevin, let me know if you need me, okay, buddy?
All right, man, I'll let you know.
You got it. Yeah, I can't. I want to have any neighbor discord right there. We got to bring people together. Quick break, and we shall return. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. I see Music Mac there as well. Top of the hour, Stephen Holder. We bail 30 minutes early today, too, because of Colts Roundtable. That's Joe Wrights, Rick Venturi, and Matt Taylor. And by the way, I know Rick's going to bring this up because he brought it up to me yesterday and then mentioned it at the end of the game yesterday regarding the Kenny Moore usage. If you heard it yesterday, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, I'll bring it up to you sent you.
The Ride with JMV.
Oh, wait just a minute. Didn't anybody knock anymore?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Foo Fighters on SNL, fantastic on Saturday night, by the way. So was the JMV Takeover Halloween party. Hope you enjoyed that, too. Locations Thursday and Friday will remind you where we're going to be and why you should be there coming up. Stephen Holder of ESPN, 5 o'clock hour. My man, Music Mac, is on board here. Hello, Mac.
How you doing today, John?
Mac, I am outstanding. I appreciate you always asking, though, man. It was great seeing you the other day, too.
You're going to see me again on Friday at Gigi's.
I'm going to be ready to rock on Friday at Gigi's. What you got, buddy?
I got to agree with you 100%, man. I just love the energy that T.J. McConnell brings to the floor when he plays for the Pacers. He's awesome.
Yes,
agreed. And I love the chemistry with everybody. And, you know, if the rookie doesn't get on the floor right away, there's nothing wrong with that because we have players that are able to carry the team now, and we can compete with other teams like we haven't been able to in the past. So, I mean, it's a win-win situation.
I like it, too. Hey, Mac, I'll see you on Friday, too, right?
Yes, you will.
All right, Mac, thank you very much. Gigi's on Friday. I mentioned last week that it was going to come quick. The recognition that you get from watching T.J. McConnell and why he needs to be a part of this team. And you saw it in game number 2 on Saturday in Cleveland. Bulls Pacers tonight, 6:30 pregame show that follows Colts Roundtable coming up at 5:30. Stephen Holder of ESPN's next.
The Ride with JMV.
Son, you got a panty on your head. You drive fast, eh?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, both Pacers coming up at 6:30. Colts Roundtable with Rick Venturi, Matt Taylor, and Joe Wright's bottom of the hour. Hurry up and get here. If you're on hold, I'll get to you as well. Halloween re-entry music coming up tomorrow. Therefore, it's Halloween, even though I think it's going to snow a little bit. Yeah, speaking of snow, how about Kansas City and their effort in Denver yesterday, everybody? Wow. And the Monday Nighter coming up later on tonight. The Sunday Nighter was a snooze fest. For real. On the Eddie Moore Automotive Group hotline from ESPN.com, Stephen Holder joins us. So, I much like, I'm assuming a lot of fans, I want to see this team do some things positively and go back to back to back. They rarely, if ever, do that, especially recently. However, when you get it in spurts like you did in Baltimore, like you did at home about 3 weeks ago against Tennessee, that gives you a bit of a false sense of who this team is. And I think we now know at 3-5 that this team is nothing more than really what we thought it was going to be, most of us, before the start of the season. You agree?
I think they're better than we thought they were going to be. Just the problem is they've had some shortfalls that maybe we didn't expect, if that makes sense. So, for example, I didn't expect them to have the kind of offensive production they've had. And I didn't expect Gardner Minshew to be any good. And I don't think he has been good. I think he has been okay in spots. But certainly the turnovers are not okay. And then yesterday he didn't have the turnovers, but he was much less aggressive. If you look at his yards per attempt, he was down, I think, to like 5.5 yards per attempt after last week, when he got aggressive and he had a career high, but he had the turnovers. So it's kind of like you got to pick your poison, I guess. Do you want conservative Gardner, or do you want, sort of leave it all on the field Gardner, who turns the ball over? But anyhow, to your question, I don't think they're a terrible team. I just think they have a couple of issues they just can't overcome, or no team can overcome. You can't overcome turnovers for the most part, and it's really hard to overcome the kind of talent disparity we're seeing right now at cornerback. And I get that that's a problem of their own making to some degree. I'm just calling it what it is. It's just really hard to overcome that. I think the core of the team is fine, and with the starting quarterback in the fold, they'd be a pretty competitive team, and much better than we predicted them to be. But they're not that team right now, and their weaknesses right now are killing them.
Stephen Holder joins us. I think it's also been hard to overcome some coaching mistakes. And believe me, I like Shane Steichen a great deal. I think he's going to be really good, but that does not dismiss the fact that he has made some profound mistakes as a first-year head coach. Those are also situations this team cannot overcome. Yeah, so here's my take on Shane. I'm with you. I think that he – overall, look, he gets it, and he has gotten some guys to play at a higher level than maybe we have seen in the past. All that's attributable to him or in his staff, or whatever you want to say. So he gets credit for that. But I do think, like you said, I think the shortfall for Shane Steichen has been situational. So I think you go back to the Browns game, and we talked about this last week. I didn't like the field goal, the 60-yard field goal attempt. I didn't like getting aggressive and throwing out of your own end zone with a guy who's done nothing but turn the ball over in the last few weeks. Talking about Gardner Minshew. And then I thought that on Sunday, we kind of grilled him on this today in his availability. We kind of grilled him on this today, and he didn't really agree, but I thought that he got a little too pass heavy at times. I get it that it was not necessarily what it looked like on paper. Looking at the numbers, they ran it 6 times in the second half, 1 carry for Jonathan Taylor. And I understand they had some long down and distance situations. So you can explain some of it. I get that. I do get that.
But the best he could do today was say, well, I don't know, there might have been a chance for a few more runs, but, that's about all. I mean, it wasn't like, in retrospect, we really went away from our best player there, which is what I thought it was.
No, that's exactly what it was. You were right. And so was everybody else, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted a little more retrospectiveness. Is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, introspection, I guess, is the word. I wanted a little more from Shane Steichen on that particular point, but he did not seem to maybe agree, and I was a little frustrated by that. But I would say I agree with you. A good coach overall, but I think he's still learning some things. I think some of these times where he, kind of does these sort of timeout situations where he, tries to draw a team off sides. I mean, I get that conceptually. I understand that. I think there have been some instances where he's outsmarted himself as well.
That's exactly how I put it. That's exactly how I put it.
Like, buddy, you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like we don't have to do that every damn time, okay? Like, just line up and kick the ball, man. At times I think it's okay, but when you do it every time, like, you've lost the element of surprise completely. No one expects you to snap the ball at this point. So I don't know, man. None of that is, like, fireable. It's not a big deal in the grand scheme, but they're playing close games. They are generally playing close games. They've been in one-score games for the most part, and those things are going to matter a lot. That's just what it is.
Stephen Holder of ESPN.com's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I just don't know a lot of other coaches around the NFL, or coordinators for that matter, that would unplug their most dynamic, their most talented, their best, their biggest threat for the period of time as what we witnessed yesterday. And I know that once you got into the fourth and they were kind of chasing the tail a little bit and they had to throw it or felt the need to throw it, but in the third quarter, they went away from it. They broke off. Zach Moss did a 41-yard run, and then the next play, that's when Minshew decided to veer to his right and throw up a wounded duck that got intercepted. I mean, I know that's his decision-making, but to me, Jonathan Taylor, you brought him back, you extended him. He's your most dynamic player, and to have 28 standing over there a lot on the sideline seems absolutely ridiculous to me.
Look, here's the deal. You paid a guy $42 million, and he did not touch the ball for the final, I think, 27 minutes of a football game. I don't understand that. You cannot make that make sense to me. I get it. That it was not – I get that it's situational, and you can explain it away if you try. You can at least put a happier face on it. I get that. If you go kind of like series by series, well, this happened, and then that happened, and then this happened. I understand that. I was at the game. But I'm just telling you, just put it in black and white. Jonathan Taylor is their most explosive player. He did not touch the ball for the final 26-plus minutes. I don't know what to tell you. That happened. That's what they did. And that was a direct decision made by Shane Steichen.
If any other coach around the NFL, winning or losing, did that to their most dynamic player, what the hell do you think would happen the next day?
They'd be calling their local radio show Raising Hell.
Yeah. And I completely understand it. And there's common ground, Stephen, to be had. I mean, we can like and believe in Shane Steichen for the future, but also understand that he fouled up by those measures yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to bring up Frank Reich, although I guess we got to talk about Frank.
No, the ultimate embarrassment's on the way next week if you're not careful too.
Ooh, I don't want to. I'm not going there yet. Let's see how it goes, but I hear you. So here's what I'd say though. At times over the last 5 years, they had some instances where the quarterback situation was not ideal, and I'll say this for Frank: he just said, "All right, we are going back to the bread and butter." And we're going to run the damn ball. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the primary way to win football games in 2023. I get it. Like I'm not an idiot. All I'm saying is you got to work with what you got. And you have a very fallible quarterback right now. You have a quarterback who is very imperfect. And the more you ask him to do, the more he's going to get your ass in trouble. Okay? I'm just saying, like, that is – every time Gardner Minshew makes a mistake, it's to some degree on Shane Steichen, to a degree. You know what I mean? Because he has asked him to throw the ball a lot the last few weeks. Now, I understand a lot of that. Some of that was deficit. Some of that was situation. Some of that was predicated by the defense, including yesterday to some extent. But I understand all of that. But I'm just saying in the grander scheme, you know what you're working with at quarterback. I mean, you can go back to like 2019 here. We had Jacoby Brissett under center. Jacoby is a good quarterback in certain situations, but the optimum situation for him was to not ask him to do too much. And they didn't. They said, we're going to run the hell out of this ball. And they did that successfully. And so, anyway, I just think that's another example. Same thing with Wentz in 2021. This feels like that. It feels like a situation where that's what you need to do. And I'll just end by saying this. Look, I understand the primary reason they lost that game is because they gave up, like 3 50-yard passes to one guy.
And 500 yards of total offense, yeah.
Okay. Like, I understand that. I was there. I get it. But I also am saying it all matters, okay? All of it matters. And that was somewhat more difficult to deal with because the personnel is the personnel. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is what it is. That's baked into the cake. So I blame the coaches a little less on that. But in terms of not giving the ball to your best player, that's something you can control.
Hey, it would be so easy, Stephen, to come on here and just rail on Tony Brown, and I've not done that because he is just a symptom of the issue that we all knew was coming in the offseason. You all knew that was coming. We all did. We all talked about it. And then it's also a part of a greater symptom, which is this defense. And you have a lot of higher dollar, higher draft selection guys up front that are not doing jack squat. And how can you, obviously, if you can't defend at the back end, you got to do something in the front end. And it's just yesterday was a struggle. So I put more blame there than I do anywhere near, even as beaten down as he was yesterday in a nightmare situation that Tony Brown had. I still look up front with that defense. And then I also look at times at Gus Bradley.
Yeah. No, I all of that is fair. I would say, and I tweeted the video, the all 22 video of all the big plays from Shaheed.
Yeah.
So you go on my Twitter, you can just scroll down, and they're all in one thread. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is because I want everyone to look at it, and when you do, you can obviously see the coverage breakdown, and you'll see that very obviously. But I want you to also pay attention to the pocket. Okay, the passer's pocket, the quarterback's pocket is pristine. Okay, pristine. And that is not going to win you many games. I mean, say what you want about Derek Carr, but if you give him a wide receiver who has 3 steps on a guy and a clean pocket, he's going to beat you. I mean, Derek Carr is not some idiot. He's a veteran quarterback who's won a lot of games, man. And any quarterback worth his salt was going to go up there and be able to make those plays because they were there. And you had to screw it up, frankly. So that's what they did. And I would say a couple things happened here. Now, the run game, there were some plays made there as well. They're missing Grover Stewart, and that has really hurt them. I think you can see that. And I always wondered whether their edge rush early in the season, was it a product of them going against backup offensive tackles, because they were having some success early on. So I wondered how much of that was a product of the Colts facing some backup offensive tackles and how much of it was this is who they are. And I think it's been a lot more hit and miss recently, which suggests that maybe the backup offensive tackles had a lot to do with it. And you got to get some consistent pass rush on these quarterbacks. I mean, I don't care if it's Derek Carr. I don't care if it's Bryce Young. Give them a pretty pocket, and guys are going to make plays. I mean, this is the NFL, man. Come on.
So, Stephen, should Jonathan Taylor had said after the game yesterday, maybe they just didn't have me in the second half plans like 11 did the week prior, because clearly they were making up for that early and often yesterday.
It kind of felt like it. It was hard not to come to that conclusion. That was interesting. Would have been nice if they were for more yards, but yeah, it did feel that way.
Yeah, here's your 5 targets, okay, buddy?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think ultimately Jonathan Taylor got what he wanted, which is $42 million. So maybe he's got a little bit of maybe he's got to shut it down for a little bit from the complaint department. But
right.
Yeah, I did think it was just, I don't know, didn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm with you.
All right. Any trade deadline, maybe moves? Anybody out there that you think may get interest from somebody else, be interesting enough for the Colts to make some sort of deal?
Okay. I think if they would have fared better in the last 3 games, I would give you a different answer. I think right now, sitting at 3-5, granted, their schedule on the back end is kind of a joke, but I mean, they're a team that has that doesn't have a lot to work with right now. I don't know how much they're going to go out there and go on a big run here. I mean, they could, but I mean, even if they were to do that, let's say some miracle happens and this team gets in the playoffs. I mean, are they winning a playoff game? Right? So what I'm saying is I'm going back now to, given the quarterback situation and given the ups and downs we're seeing on defense, I go back to where we were going into the season, which was, all right, this season is about figuring out who you are and figuring out the way forward. So, you know, it's about 2024 in my mind. I'm not saying that I'm writing off the rest of the season. They still have some talent. They still have a lot of high-paid players who should be going out there and competing. So, I mean, I expect them to win some games. But I think they're still kind of a mediocre kind of team at best right now. If you have that team, you know, how aggressive would you bother to be at the trade deadline? You know, because what's it going to net you is what I say. And honestly, I think you need to be retaining your draft picks to go put some guys around Anthony Richardson going forward.
Well, is there anybody out there that you pull the plug on because you're 3-5
yeah.
and because you look like you're going nowhere fast? That was more the angle that I was thinking of too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, more. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, not going out and trying to improve the team, but taking away pieces because you basically know this thing's over.
Okay, fair question. I do agree that their posture with 3 losses in a row, it probably changes your posture a little bit. I just think that they're not in position to sell a whole lot right now, though, because a lot of the players who are of interest or might be of interest, I mean, they're either making a lot of money, either that or they're not players they're willing to part with, or you know, or they just, there isn't much to be gained by dealing them. I don't know. I just don't see any obvious candidates. I mean, if somebody came to you and said, this is a terrible example because he's a corner, but and they need corners. But if somebody came to you and said, we'll give you a nice pick for Kenny Moore, that's not going to happen, I don't believe. But if someone said that, I mean, you'd have to listen because he's in a contract year. And, you know, look, I mean, he's a position that is a premier position, corner. I think he's having a good year. I know people may have mixed feelings on that. I think Kenny Moore has played pretty well this year, frankly. So, I mean, he's a guy who would have some value, perhaps. And also, I don't know what their plans are for him in the long term. I have no idea. This is not a prediction. I have zero idea. I'm just saying, are they going to re-sign Kenny Moore? Like, what is that? What's their intention there? I have no idea. So, you know, that's just one guy off the very, very top of my head. But I don't think there's a lot of obvious candidates for them to sell right now.
Stephen Holder's with us. Do you buy the explanation last week of Kenny's too valuable to keep in the nickel and not moving him outside because of how he plays, and that's something you expect? Or would you be one to test that on the outside and believe, I know this is all desperation, but so is that situation, and so is this team? Because couldn't you realistically put somebody at the nickel that could be much less of a talent, and maybe Kenny can do more than what we witnessed yesterday? I mean, why would that be not more feasible than it was?
Yeah, you mentioned desperate scenario. Well, I mean, no offense, but I mean, they look pretty desperate chasing Shaheed to the end zone. You know what I mean? So I agree that I think here's one scenario. I have no idea if this is a great idea, but it's an idea. You could move Kenny outside. Kenny is is definitely capable of playing out there. I mean, would you not have wanted him matched up on the edge with Shaheed on those couple of plays, right? So take that, for example. Move him to the outside. The other option to fill Kenny Moore's role in the slot, or one option, could be, just theoretically, Julian Blackmon could do it. Now, I don't know if he's as up to speed on playing that position from a scheme standpoint, but certainly from a ability perspective, Julian Blackmon could do that. He played corner in college. He basically is kind of playing that role to some degree anyway, because he's taking on tight ends and doing that anyway. So I know he's a safety, but he could do that. And then you got Nick Cross, who they say they want to get on the field. Well, then he backfills Julian Blackmon at strong safety. I mean, that's how you do it. If you want another option, that's an option. And that way, I like those three guys on the field. You're getting three good players on the field, albeit in different roles. I know it impacts those roles negatively, because anytime you move a player, it's a little bit of a downgrade from his original position. I get that. That is true. But overall, you have more talent on the field under that scenario. So that's what I would say. That would be my suggestion to at least talk about doing.
Stephen Holder of ESPN.com is with us. So let me make sure we get this right. Next week, they travel to Charlotte, North Carolina to take on a one-win team that won for the first time this past weekend against Houston, and take on the guy that this time last year they fired. If they go there and lose, where would that rank as disgusting, embarrassing losses?
I thought about this. Well, first of all, look, I am not about to make a prediction that Carolina is going to win this game. Excuse me. But I'll say this. I mean, there's no one better than Frank Reich to get his offense ready to play this defense. You know what I mean? It's like, if anybody knows how to beat this defense, it'd be Frank Reich. So we'll see how that goes. But it would not be great, because the owner would not take kindly to it. And it comes to mind, you know what comes to mind is, I think a couple of years ago, you might recall, they get swept by Tennessee. And remember, Jarace told us later on how he called the whole staff together and he just ripped them a new one and told them, these guys are emasculating you. Have some pride. I mean, I'm actually quoting him like you said that. And I was like, I remember sitting in the room with him, and I think it was in Palm Beach at the owners' meetings. And I remember sitting there and hearing Jarace say this, and I'm like, man, I didn't know he was that.
Did he say emasculating?
I might have to go back and check the transcript. He either did use that word or he used a variation of it. But I walked away thinking, man, he just basically said that you guys have no manhood here. I mean, that's what he said, you know? So anyhow, I mean, we all wrote about it, myself, Kiefer, et cetera. But anyhow, the reason I bring that up is because I think he definitely had, he being Jarace, he had this, like, you know, just this craw in there's something stuck in his craw about losing to Tennessee. I gotta feel like this would be on par with that, you know, because like he really felt like he did the right thing in firing Frank Reich, and that's fine. I mean, obviously something had to change; they weren't doing well, but I mean, he definitely didn't like the backlash of bringing in Jeff Saturday, and you remember the win in Las Vegas. Jarace took a victory lap after that, and he wanted to kind of basically say I was right, and so now to go lose to Frank Reich with that being the backdrop, I got to think he'd be very pissed off.
Hey, what would be worse, losing Sunday to Frank Reich or having Will Levis throw multi-touchdowns against you in Nashville in December?
Ooh, man,
This is where we are. This is what we're left with right here, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, right? I mean, just talk about bad choices.
Yes.
I would say this for Levis. Like, I don't know. I would say this, though. I mean, if they hit on Levis, if he turns out to be a hit, then good for Tennessee, because I'll be honest with you, I mean, they were about to go into a no man's land here, okay? Because it might be over for, well, I don't know about over, but certainly Henry's run is coming to an end. You know, whether it's now or next year, whatever. Like, he's not their future. You know, they already traded Kevin Byard, which kind of tells me they're maybe thinking about the future. And so I don't know. They were kind of getting ready to potentially head toward a teardown here, and they may still. But if they got the quarterback right, and we don't know yet. Okay, it's early. We do not know. But I like what I saw. I mean, he made some good throws, man. Give him credit.
This would be very Tennessee of them, wouldn't it? To be 3-4 right now and to pick themselves up off the mat in a fashion in which nobody thought, and that will further Jim Irsay's being pissed off and using words like emasculating, maybe, because of the jealousy he would have for Mike Vrabel putting this product together. So,
yeah, look, Mike Vrabel is a good coach, and you know who's one of his biggest fans is Jim Irsay.
No doubt.
Talks about him all the time. I don't know if Mike Vrabel would have been out there last year. This is a stupid hypothetical. I don't know why I'm even going there. But like, had Mike Vrabel been out there last year, would Jim Irsay have just like taken over the coaching search and said, "Nope, we got our guy"? I don't know. He might have.
Well, either that or if Jeff Saturday would have won like 2 more games, maybe even 1 more game, that would have happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right, my buddy. Hey, I got to run. I appreciate you more than you know. And safe travels to Charlotte next week. And hopefully we have better things to talk about on Monday of next week.
Agreed. All right. Talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Stephen Holder of ESPN on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Win Schuler Spreadable Cheeses, the official sponsor inside the lounge via YouTube Live. And the spreadability is taking shape around central Indiana. Kroger and Meyer locations. Win Schuler Spreadable Cheeses. James, great job out of you. We're off 30 minutes early. If you're on hold, call me tomorrow. We'll get you immediately on. Colts Roundtable is next, followed by Bulls Pacers right here on your place for sports conversation, especially in the afternoon. It's 93.5.